All right, so this is one of those stories where you're just going to have to take a drink at some point during this story. It's a weird one, and I want to use this as an illustration to say how strange comics can be, how strange they can become, because this one pretty much fits that bill quite well. Hey everybody, this is Perch. I've done a lot of these feuds, these industry feuds, these kind of, and one thing about them all is that they all have a certain kind of salacious, gossipy feel to it, and you really don't know the full picture. Even when I'm doing, somebody commented on the John Byrne Ghost Gasada one that I should really research these and put more kind of infographics and stuff on the screen while I'm doing it, and it's a fine idea. Except the problem is a lot of these are really based in he said, she said type scenarios, and it's never, ever, ever, well, almost never 100%. Um, and it's I often kind of think twice before I do these, but industry feuds and gossips and fights and these kinds of battles are such an ingrained part of comics. It is a small community, and so these things have a weird way of kind of taking on a life of their own, and they are linked, completely linked into comics. So I'll step through this one, but what I want to say right here is there's a lot of kind of, that's a strange coincidence as part of this story. And there's a lot of gossip in this story. Even I'm not even going to get to the ugliest parts of it because there's just so many. This has become one of those kind of tribal stories that you're never quite sure where truth begins and fiction starts. You're going to want to believe it's all fiction. Anyway, right up on the screen right now, I've got a page from the 1988 DC Christmas with the Superheroes special. And this, what could possibly be bad about this? This page has been labeled kind of the DC's most disgusting joke. And you might say, why? Where is it? And then you start searching around. A lot of people go to Teen Titans who got a kid in a chair, and looks like Donna Troy's got on a really short, like she's just stolen Santa's outfit, and that's what's going on. But anyway, what could possibly be weird about this page? Well, would you believe me if I told you it's the bottom half? It's Cap's Hobby Hints that is the problem. So what goes on here? Well, we've got, how to do it better. All right, so a simple little thing. We got some cartoon characters. If you're familiar with some of the comic funnies that Eric Larson's been running, this is kind of the same style of what he's been doing in his books. But we basically got a guy, thanks to Lee Travis from Cleveland, Ohio, got a little story, and this kid's hit his thumb with it. Who hasn't hit their thumb with a hammer? So he's like, ow. And his friend's like, I always had a problem driving nails with a hammer. Mr. Cap showed me a neat way. I take a pocket comb and use it to hold the nail. That way I hit the nail, not my fingers, using the comb. This is something I've seen this in life hacks lately. And then, he's hammering away using his comb. And he says, always take care using household tools. Otherwise you could hurt yourself and others. Dun, dun, dun. Gee, thanks for the tip, says his buddy. From Ty Templetoff. All right. So what could possibly be weird about that page? I mean, nothing, right? Absolutely nothing. Well, first off, Ty Templetoff is most likely Ty Templeton. Now, why? That most people think that's the case, and there's some, if you kind of squint, you can kind of get a sense that that's the artist based on some of the technique, sort of. Sure, why not? But the real thing that we have to start looking at is what could possibly be weird about it. Well, the clue is in the thanks to Lee Travis of Cleveland, Ohio. All right, so who's Lee Travis? Well, some guy from Cleveland, Ohio, right? Well, yeah, but Lee Travis is also the alter ego of the 1930s The Crimson Avenger. Okay, that's weird. So there's a character at Crimson Avengers 1930s called Lee Travis. No big deal. Now, what does a comic here have to do? This is a 1988 book. What does it have to do with the book in the 30s? Well, in 1988, there's a comic called The Crimson Avenger, a 4-issue miniseries. All right, that sounds all good. And who was the artist of this book? Well, it was a guy named Greg Brooks. Well, okay, No, again, maybe that name means something too, maybe it doesn't. But Lee Travis, Crimson Avenger, they had done a Crimson Avenger book early in the year. So you're like, nah, that's a weird coincidence, right? It is a weird coincidence. So case closed, right? It's just kind of a weird little thing. And maybe it is just a coincidence, except here's the deal. So Greg Brooks had been arrested. Why, you might ask? What would cause this comic artist to be arrested? Well, he killed his wife with a hammer. That's right. He actually went to jail for hurting, not himself, but well, sort of, but others with a hammer. And you drive that hammer wrong, and you can do things like hurt your thumb or apparently kill your wife. That's what happened to Greg Brooks. So this page, had those kind of little Easter egg, like a little, like, why would you create this little comic strip about how to use a hammer safely using the name of a character that an artist who was working on that character was working on, who killed his wife. And so that's also kind of weird, but hey, it may completely be a wild coincidence. It's definitely possible, and some people claim that it is. There are other Lee Travises in the country. Why not? And, maybe the hammer was just a whole, kind of strange little thing. And then, then you've got the thanks for the tip comment. And that one is another one that's kind of weird. So now we're getting into super, super gossip territory. So I hate to mention the editor of this book. Rumor had it that the editor may have been, in fact, intimate with the wife of old Greg Brooks, who killed his wife, and that was one of the reasons, or maybe the reason, why his wife was killed with a hammer. And so there was a joke, kind of in the industry, that in denying the affair, that the editor said, no, it was just the tip. Hilarious, right? And then this kind of went in there, this kind of seedy story. By the way, the editor was Mark Waid. Anyway, so but that's complete gossip, and I this whole story I've heard before. And then I hadn't heard it for a long time, and it came up recently. Somebody was pointing out, I did the video about Al Milgram and the Easter eggs, and this is kind of one of those either amazingly weird coincidences or a pretty sick Easter egg. What we do know is that some of the individuals involved got into some trouble after this, and there was kind of some... you won't work at DC for a while. And then this whole page got to be one of those no talk about things that occurred within DC. It was seen as a very nasty thing that we shall not discuss. And a lot of people don't know why. I've recently talked to some, like I said, I'd forgotten about this. It'd been a good 10 years since I heard about this. And then somebody brought it up, and I was reminded of the fact that back in 2007, I want to say, somebody was mentioning that this page was kind of off limits as discussion at DC, and why, what could possibly be. But these are, here's a little story for you. Should you believe it or should you not believe it? I'll leave that to you. It's a weird coincidence in any event. Very, very some weird coincidental things. But it's an example of, in comics, there's probably a ton more little Easter eggs that are often thrown in there because artists and creatives like to take little jabs at each other. Sometimes apparently with a hammer. So there you go. Comic history. Are you glad you take that drink? What do you think? True? Not true? This is one of those urban legends, or maybe it's true, or who knows? Or, maybe parts are true, parts are not true. Hard to say. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Fact, fiction, BS. It's all up to you. Like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter or Facebook at Comic Perch. Yeah, have that shot now, buddy. Thanks for listening.